Evil in the Industry and Streets, written and narrated by Jonel Farmer, a Cleveland journalist's truth-full 25-chapter birthplace of rock and roll, the city that raised me dreams versus reality. The Cleveland ceiling industry games begin, mind games and manipulation, sex, power, and control, gatekeepers of opportunity. The cost of being real, jealousy in the streets, friends turned foes, the crab in a barrel mentality, violence over vision, the murder rate and the mindset, broken systems, broken dreams, talent without opportunity leaving versus staying loyal, the ones who made it out, the ones who didn't. Industry illusions, the truth about executives surviving without selling your soul, the 25%, the good people rebuilding the culture. Cleveland, Heaven, Hell, and Hope, Chapter 1, birthplace of rock and roll. Cleveland, Ohio. They call it the birthplace of rock and roll, a city stamped into history, a city that helped shape sound, culture, rebellion. A city that once gave the world a rhythm it couldn't ignore. But what they don't tell you is what happens when the music fades and the silence reveals the truth. My name is Jonel Farmer. I'm a journalist from Cleveland, Ohio, and I've spent years watching, listening, documenting, not just the music industry, but the people behind it, the streets beneath it, and the evil inside of it. When you grow up in Cleveland, you grow up with pride. You hear the stories. The Hall of Fame is here. This city made legends. This is where it all started. But what they don't tell you is, just because something starts somewhere doesn't mean it stays there. Cleveland created the sound, but other cities learned how to monetize it. Cleveland had the talent, but other cities built the systems. Cleveland had the culture, but other cities protected their own. And that's where the problem begins. Because in Cleveland, support isn't guaranteed, opportunity isn't shared, and success is often resented. I've seen artists with real talent, voices that could move crowds, stories that could change lives. But they never left the block, not because they weren't good enough, but because somebody didn't want to see them win. And that's a hard truth to swallow, because we like to blame the industry. We like to say, they didn't give us a chance, they overlooked us. They ignored Cleveland. And yeah, that's part of the truth, but not all of it. Because before the industry ever gatekeeps you, your own city tests you first. And in Cleveland, that test is brutal. You got people watching you, not to support you, but to see if you fail. You got people smiling in your face, but praying behind your back. You got people who would rather stay stuck than see somebody else rise. That's not everybody. Let me be clear. There are good people in Cleveland, strong people, supportive people, real people. But if we're being honest, that's about 25%. The other 75, jealous, hurt, broken, and sometimes dangerous. And when you mix that mindset with poverty, with lack of opportunity, with industry rejection, you don't just get frustration, you get violence. People always ask, why is the murder rate so high? Why is the city like this? And they look for complicated answers. But sometimes, the truth is simple. When people feel like they have no way out, they start taking it out on each other. In the 1970s, there were mob wars, organized, calculated, strategic violence. But today, it's different. It's emotional. It's impulsive. It's fueled by jealousy, disrespect, and pain. And the music industry, it feeds off that. It studies it. It profits from it. But it doesn't fix it, because chaos sells, struggle sells, pain sells. But healing doesn't always make money. So Cleveland stays in this cycle, creating talent, losing talent, and watching others benefit from what was born here. And me, I chose to document it, to tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when people don't want to hear it. Because somebody has to say it. This isn't just about music. This isn't just about the industry. This is about a city caught between greatness and self-destruction. Cleveland is beautiful. Don't get it twisted. There's culture here. There's history here. There's love here. But there's also evil. And if we don't talk about it, if we don't face it, if we don't change it, then the next generation will inherit the same cycle. This is my story. This is our story. This is Evil in the Industry and Streets. Evil in the Industry and Streets, written and narrated by Jonel Farmer. Chapter 2. The City That Raised Me. I wasn't born into the music industry. I was born into Cleveland, and Cleveland was my first teacher before I ever understood business, before I understood contracts, before I understood power. I understood survival. Growing up in Cleveland, you learn early. Nothing is handed to you. Not respect, not opportunity, not even peace. You earn everything, or you fight for it. I remember walking through neighborhoods where talent was everywhere. Freestyles on corners, beats playing out of car trunks, kids dancing like they already made it. You could feel it. Cleveland had something special, but it also had something else, something heavy. Doubt, not just from the outside, from within. People didn't just question your dreams. They questioned you. Why you think you gonna make it? What makes you different? Ain't nobody from here blowing like that. And when you hear that enough, it starts to sink in, even if you don't believe it. It still sits in the back of your mind. I watched people give up before they even started, not because they couldn't do it, but because they didn't think they were allowed to. That's what Cleveland does sometimes. It builds you, then tests you, then dares you to break. And if you don't, then the real challenges begin. Chapter 3. Dreams versus reality. Everybody got dreams in Cleveland. Big ones. Grammy dreams. Movie dreams. $1 million dreams. But dreams don't survive long. Without opportunity, reality hits fast. Bills, family struggles, street pressure. And suddenly, that dream starts to feel like a risk. I've seen artists choose survival over purpose. Not because they wanted to, but because they had to. You can't chase a dream full-time when your reality is trying to pull you under. And that's where the streets step in, not as a backup plan, but as a trap, because the streets will always pay faster than the industry. But the streets always collect. Chapter 4. The Cleveland Ceiling. There's an invisible ceiling in Cleveland. You don't see it, but you feel it. It's that moment when you realize, no matter how good you are, no matter how hard you work, there's a limit placed on you. Not by talent, not by effort, but by environment. You can go viral and still not get support from your own city. You can drop heat and still get overlooked locally. It's like people don't believe in you until somebody outside Cleveland does. And by then, it's already too late, because the support should have started at home. Chapter 5. Industry games begin the first time you deal with the industry. It feels like a dream. Emails, meetings, opportunities. But it doesn't take long to realize. Everything isn't what it seems. Executives don't just listen to music. They study people. They study weaknesses. They study desperation. They don't ask, how talented are you? They ask, how controllable are you? And that's where the games begin. Because if you're desperate enough, you'll say yes to things you shouldn't. Chapter 6. Mind games and manipulation. The industry doesn't always break you physically. It breaks you mentally. They'll hype you up, then disappear. They'll promise things, then delay them. They'll make you feel close to success without ever giving it to you. It's psychological, because the longer they keep you chasing, the more control they have over you. I've seen artists lose themselves, trying to hold on to something that was never real. Confidence turns into anxiety. Passion turns into pressure. Dreams turn into stress. And the worst part, you don't even realize it's happening until you're already deep in it. Chapter 7. Sex, Power, and Control. This is the part nobody wants to talk about, but it's real. Power in the industry isn't always about music. Sometimes it's about control, and control comes in many forms. Money, access, influence, and sometimes sex. I've heard stories, seen situations, watched people get put in positions where success came with conditions, unspoken rules, uncomfortable expectations, moral compromises, and when you're trying to make it, those lines start to blur, because now it's not just about talent, it's about what you're willing to tolerate or sacrifice, and that's when you realize this industry isn't just competitive, it's predatory. Evil in the Industry and Streets, written and narrated by Jonel Farmer. Chapter 8. Gatekeepers of opportunity in every city. There are doors, and in Cleveland, there are people standing in front of those doors. Gatekeepers. They control access. Who gets in? Who gets seen? Who gets heard? And sometimes, they're not even the most talented. They're just the most connected. I've seen artists with undeniable skill get blocked, not because they weren't good enough, but because they didn't know the right person, or worse, because somebody felt threatened. That's the part people don't understand. In some cities, when you shine, people pull you up. In Cleveland, sometimes, they pull you back, because your success feels like their failure. So instead of opening doors, they guard them. An opportunity gets stuck in the hallway. Chapter 9. The cost of being real. Being real sounds good. Everybody says it. Stay real. Be authentic. Don't change. But in reality, being real has a cost. Because when you don't play the game stops playing with you. You don't get invited. You don't get promoted. You don't get supported. Not because you're wrong, but because you're not useful. The industry doesn't reward truth. It rewards control. And the streets, they don't always protect authenticity either. Sometimes being real just makes you a target. Chapter 10. Jealousy in the streets. Jealousy isn't loud. It's quiet. It smiles at you. It congratulates you. It stands next to you while secretly hoping you fall. In Cleveland, jealousy runs deep because people see what you have and compare it to what they don't. And instead of being inspired, they feel threatened. I've seen friendships end over progress. I've seen support turn into silence. I've seen love turn into competition, all because somebody started leveling up. And the sad part, it didn't have to be that way. Chapter 11. Friends turn foes. Some of the biggest losses don't come from enemies. They come from people you trusted, people who knew your story, people who saw your struggle, people who were there before anything started moving. And then something changes. Maybe you start gaining attention. Maybe your life starts shifting. Maybe you outgrow the environment. And suddenly, that support turns into distance. That loyalty turns into tension. Because not everybody is meant to grow with you. And some people would rather see you stay the same than watch you become something more. Chapter 12. The crab in a barrel mentality. You ever heard that saying? Crabs in a barrel. If one tries to climb out, the others pull it back down. That's not just a saying in Cleveland. It's a reality. People don't always realize they're doing it, but they are. Criticizing success, downplaying achievements, questioning moves, anything to make sure nobody rises too far above the rest, because equality feels safer than elevation. But that mindset, it keeps everybody stuck. Chapter 13. Violence over vision. When vision disappears, violence takes its place, because people need something to believe in, something to chase, something to build. And when that's missing, energy turns destructive. Arguments escalate. Disrespect turns deadly. Small problems turn permanent. Because now, there's nothing to lose. And when people feel like they have nothing to lose, they become dangerous. Chapter 14. The murder rate and the mindset. People look at statistics, numbers, charts, rates, but they don't always look at the mindset behind it. The murder rate isn't just about crime. It's about perspective. It's about what people believe their life is worth, what they believe their future is worth. And when those beliefs are low, decisions become reckless. I'm not glorifying it. I'm explaining it, because understanding the mindset is the first step to changing it. Cleveland isn't just dealing with violence. It's dealing with pain, unresolved pain. And until that pain is addressed, the cycle continues. Evil in the Industry and Streets. Written and narrated by Jonel Farmer. Chapter 15. Broken systems, broken dreams. Not every failure is personal. Some of it is structural. Broken systems create broken outcomes. When there's no real infrastructure for artists, no guidance, no funding, no protection, then talent is left to figure it out alone. And most people, they don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lack support. Cleveland has talent. That's never been the issue. The issue is what surrounds the talent. Chapter 16. Talent without opportunity. Talent means nothing. Without opportunity, you can be the best in your city and still be invisible to the world. Because talent doesn't automatically create access, opportunity does. And when opportunity is limited, only a few make it through. Not always the best, just the most positioned. That's the truth people don't like to hear. Chapter 17, Leaving versus Staying Loyal. Every artist faces this question. Do I stay or do I leave? Staying means loyalty. It means representing your city. It means trying to build something where you came from. But leaving? Leaving means growth, exposure, opportunity, and sometimes survival. Because not every environment is built for your success. And that's not betrayal. That's reality. Chapter 18. The ones who made it out there are people who made it. From Cleveland. But look closer. Most of them had to leave first. They had to go where the support was, where the systems were, where the opportunity matched their talent. And once they made it, then the city claimed them. But where was that support before they left? That's the question. Chapter 19. The ones who didn't. For every success story, there are hundreds that never made it. Not because they weren't talented, but because they got stuck. Stuck in the streets, stuck in cycles, stuck in environments that didn't allow growth. Some gave up, some disappeared, some didn't survive, and their stories don't get told enough. Chapter 20. Industry illusions. The industry looks glamorous. Lights, money, fame. But that's the surface. Behind it, contracts, control, expectations. What you see isn't always what's real, and what's real isn't always what's shown. That's the illusion. Chapter 21. The truth about executives. Executives aren't your friends. They're business, and business is about profit, not your dreams, not your story, not your struggle. Your value is measured by what you generate. And once that value drops, so does the support. That's not personal. That's the system. Chapter 22. Surviving without selling your soul. So how do you survive it? How do you stay true? In a system designed to change you, you set boundaries. You learn the business. You protect your name. You protect your mind. Because once you lose yourself, nothing else matters. Success without identity is still a loss. Chapter 23, the 25%, the good people. Not everybody is against you. That's important to remember. There are good people in Cleveland, people who support, people who uplift, people who genuinely want to see others win. They may not be the loudest, but they're there, and they matter because they represent what the city can be. Chapter 24, rebuilding the culture. Change doesn't start with the industry. It starts with the people. Supporting each other, sharing opportunities, building together instead of competing. That's how culture grows. Not through hate, not through jealousy, but through unity. Cleveland doesn't need more talent. It needs more support. Chapter 25, Cleveland, heaven, hell, and hope. Cleveland is complicated. It's beautiful and broken. It's full of potential and full of pain. It can feel like heaven and hell at the same time. But there's one thing it still has. Hope. Hope that things can change. Hope that the next generation does better. Hope that the cycle can be broken. Because it can. But it takes honesty. It takes accountability. It takes people willing to face the truth. Even when it's uncomfortable. This isn't just a story about Cleveland. It's a story about systems, about people, about choices, and about what happens when talent meets resistance. My name is Jonel Farmer, journalist, observer, voice, and this is The Truth, Evil in the Industry and Streets, written and narrated by Jonel Farmer. Chapter 26, Fame without freedom. Fame looks like success, but sometimes it's a cage. You gain attention, but lose privacy. You gain recognition, but lose control. And the industry knows exactly how to use that. Because once people are watching you, they can influence you. Chapter 27. Signing your life away. Contracts don't always look dangerous. They look like opportunity, but hidden inside the fine print. Are terms that can control your future. Ownership, royalties, creative control. Things most artists don't understand until it's too late. Chapter 28, advances and debt that upfront money? It's not free. It's a loan, and everything you spend gets counted against you. So while you think you're winning, you're actually going deeper into debt. Chapter 29, image over identity. The industry doesn't just sell music. It sells images. And sometimes they reshape you to fit what sells, not who you are, but who they want you to be. Chapter 30, viral but broke millions of views. No money. That's the reality for a lot of artists today, because attention doesn't always equal income, and the system is designed that way. Chapter 31, the clout trap. Clout feels powerful, but it's temporary. People chase attention instead of building value, and when the attention fades, so does the opportunity. Chapter 32, social media illusions. Everything looks perfect online. Success, money, lifestyle, but most of it is curated, and comparing your real life to someone else's highlight reel will destroy your mindset. Chapter 33, industry favoritism. Not everybody starts equal. Some artists get pushed, others get ignored, not because of talent, but because of connections. Chapter 34, pay-to play opportunities aren't always earned. Sometimes they're bought. Features, placements, exposure. If you don't have money, you're already behind. Chapter 35, radio politics. Radio isn't just about music. It's about relationships, money, influence. And if you're not part of that system, you don't get played. Chapter 36, BLACKBL, and you speak up, and you might get silenced. Not publicly, quietly. Opportunities disappear, calls stop, doors close, and nobody explains why. Chapter 37, the price of speaking truth. Truth is powerful, but it's also dangerous, because the system doesn't like to be exposed. Chapter 38, mental health in the industry. Pressure builds, expectations rise, and without support, people break. Anxiety, depression, burnout, but nobody talks about it enough. Chapter 39, addictions and escapes. When reality gets heavy, people look for escapes. Drugs, alcohol, distractions, anything to numb the pressure. Chapter 40, trust issues. Success changes relationships. You don't know who's real and who's around for benefit, so trust becomes rare. Chapter 41, family versus business. Not everybody understands your journey. Family may not support it or may depend on it too much, and that pressure can break both sides. Chapter 42, money mismanagement. Money comes fast and goes faster without knowledge. Wealth doesn't last. Chapter 43, fake friends and entitlement. Success attracts people, but not all of them have good intentions. Chapter 44, the loneliness of success. Even surrounded by people, you can feel alone, because not everybody understands your position. Chapter 45, industry burnout. Constant pressure, constant performance, constant expectations. Eventually, it catches up. Chapter 46, comparison kills confidence. Looking at others will make you question yourself, even when you're doing well. Chapter 47, the long game. Success isn't overnight. It's built over time, but most people quit early. Chapter 48, building your own platform. Waiting for opportunity is risky. Creating your own is power. Chapter 49, independence versus deals. Independence gives freedom. Deals give resources. Both have a price. Chapter 50, ownership is power. If you don't own it, you don't control it. Masters, publishing, brand, ownership changes everything. Chapter 51, the new industry. The game is changing. Artists have more tools, more access, more control, but also more responsibility. Chapter 52, digital hustle. Streaming, content, consistency. That's the new grind. Chapter 53, brand over music. Music gets attention. Brand builds longevity. Chapter 54, MRCH, business and expansion. Artists are businesses now. Clothing, products, ownership. Chapter 55, networking the right way. Not using people, but building real connections. Chapter 56, energy and environment. Your environment shapes your mindset. Change your environment. Change your life. Chapter 57, discipline over motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline stays. Chapter 58, Consistency Wins Not Talent, Not Luck. Consistency. Chapter 59, Failing Forward. Failure isn't the end, it's part of the process. Chapter 60, Learning the Game. Knowledge is protection. The more you know, the less you get played. Chapter 61, Building Legacy. It's bigger than music. It's about impact. Chapter 62, Giving Back. Once you learn, you teach. Chapter 63, Breaking the Cycle. Change starts with awareness, then action. Chapter 64, Unity over division. Together is stronger, always. Chapter 65, Redefining Success. Success isn't just money, it's freedom, peace, control. Chapter 66, The Next Generation. They're watching, learning, and repeating what we show them. Chapter 67, Accountability. Change requires honesty, even when it hurts. Chapter 68, Healing the City. Healing isn't easy, but it's necessary. Chapter 69, From Pain to Purpose. Pain can destroy you or build you. Chapter 70, Telling your story. Your voice matters. Use it. Chapter 71, Standing alone. Sometimes you have to walk alone. Chapter 72, Faith and Focus. Believe in something and stay locked in. Chapter 73, The Final Test. Everything you learned gets tested. Chapter 74, Rising Above. Not everyone will make it, but you can. Chapter 75, The Legacy. Lives on. This story doesn't end here. Evil in the Industry and Streets. Written and narrated by Jonel Farmer. Chapter 76, Silence in the Room. There's a moment every artist experiences when the room goes quiet, not because they're listening, but because they've stopped caring. That silence hits harder than rejection. It makes you question everything you thought was working. Silence in the industry isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it's strategic. Calls stop coming. Messages go unanswered. Opportunities disappear without explanation. And you're left trying to figure out what changed. But the truth is, sometimes nothing changed except their interests. The industry moves fast, and loyalty moves slow. If you don't understand that, the silence will break you. In Cleveland, silence can mean something different. It can mean people watching you, waiting to see if you fail before they decide to support you. It's hesitation disguised as patience. And if you don't learn how to move through silence, you'll mistake it for the end when it's really just another test. Chapter 77, Watching Without Support. People are always watching. That's one thing you learn quickly. Your progress, your moves, your growth, it doesn't go unnoticed. But watching isn't the same as supporting. There's a difference between attention and investment. People will view your content, listen to your music, and still never share it. They'll know your work, but never speak your name in rooms that matter. That's one of the quiet struggles artists face. Feeling seen, but not supported. Recognized, but not uplifted. It creates a gap between visibility and success. In cities with strong unity, watching turns into movement. In broken environments, watching turns into judgment. People observe more than they participate. And that's why real support is rare. Not because people don't see you, but because they choose not to push you forward. Chapter 78, The Energy You Keep. Energy is everything. Not just what you give, but what you allow around you. Because the wrong energy can slow you down faster than any obstacle. You can have talent, vision, and discipline, but if your environment is negative, it will wear you down. Slowly, quietly, consistently. Some people don't attack you directly. They drain you indirectly, through doubt, negativity, or subtle discouragement. And if you're not aware, you'll absorb it. In both the streets and the industry, energy determines direction. You either rise with your circle, or you struggle within it. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's survival. Chapter 79, Small Wins. Big impact. People underestimate small wins. They focus on the big moments, the deals, the fame, the recognition. But success is built on smaller steps. Every post, every connection, every improvement. It all adds up, even when it doesn't feel like it's moving fast enough. The problem is most people quit before those small wins compound. They don't give the process enough time to work. In Cleveland, small wins don't always get celebrated. Sometimes they get ignored, or worse, dismissed. And that discouragement can stop momentum. But if you stay consistent, Those small wins eventually become something undeniable. Chapter 80. Pressure from all sides. Pressure doesn't come from one place. It comes from everywhere. Family expectations, financial struggles, industry demands, street realities. And when all that pressure hits at once, it can feel overwhelming. Like no matter what you do, something is pulling you back. Some people break under pressure. Others adapt. The difference isn't strength, it's mindset. Understanding pressure helps you control it. Ignoring it lets it control you. And in environments like Cleveland, pressure isn't optional. It's constant. Chapter 81. The cost of staying focused. Focus sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things to maintain, especially when distractions are everywhere. Opportunities, negativity, social media, opinions, everything competes for your attention. And every distraction costs you time. Staying focused means saying no. No to things that don't align. No to people who don't support your vision. No to temporary comfort. That's where most people struggle, because focus requires sacrifice. But without it, progress slows and eventually stops. Chapter 82. Moving without validation. Waiting for validation will delay your success, because not everyone is going to clap for you when you start. In fact, most people won't. Validation often comes after results, not before. That's the part people don't understand. So you have to move without it, build without it, believe without it. Because if you depend on approval, you'll never move freely. And freedom is necessary for growth. Chapter 83. Outgrowing your environment. Growth creates distance. Not intentionally, but naturally. As you evolve, your mindset changes. Your habits change. Your priorities change. And sometimes your environment doesn't. That's where conflict begins, because what once felt normal no longer fits. Outgrowing your environment isn't betrayal, it's development, but it still comes with difficult decisions. Chapter 84. The real competition. Most people think competition is other artists. It's not. The real competition is discipline, consistency, patience, because those are the things most people lack. If you master those, you separate yourself automatically. And in a city where distractions are constant, discipline becomes your biggest advantage. Chapter 85. Staying power. Anybody can start. Few people last. Staying power comes from resilience. The ability to keep going when things don't work out immediately, because success rarely happens on schedule. It takes time, adjustments, persistence, and most importantly, belief. Because if you don't believe in your path, you won't stay on it long enough to see results.